Good afternoon, class. Nate Oftley here. This will be the final installment of our collaboration project for Anthropology 348. For this presentation, I'll be covering the Apache tribe in the Path of the Apache. This will be our agenda for today, which includes Apache origins and creation story, Apache materials and subsistence systems, social, political, economic, and religious aspects, intergovernmental relations and war, and contemporary crisis that we see for the Apache today. When the average American today hears the term Apache, I think the first thing that comes to mind is probably the AH-64 attack helicopter, the Apache, or maybe you'll think of Geronimo, one of the more well-known Apache warriors. But then others kind of hold this idea that the Apache are something like what you see here in Buffalo Hunt. The proud Indian brave hunting down a stampede of buffalo on his painted horse, or maybe the old Apache chief smoking his peace pipe in his teepee. But what people don't really realize is that these stereotypical frames that we hold the Apache to really limits them, or reduces their culture down to simple nomads or raiders or savages. And we know now this is something that we actually call the noble savage myth, which has been attributed to Rousseau and other Enlightenment age schools of thought. So what this is it's kind of the idea that Native Americans represent humans living in the most basic stage of human progress. That they live in happiness and harmony with nature, that they're closer to God, and that they live freely without the complexities of technologies and politics. Some would even kind of refer to some Native Americans as innocent or naive, and almost like living like Adam and Eve. But of course, this is just kind of casting the Apaches in terms that are familiar to Anglo-American culture, and definitely not from the perspective of the Apache. So just wanted to kind of dispel that myth there, and then over this presentation, we'll take a look at who the Apache really were and where they came from and who they are today. So we'll go into their origins. The Apache are descendants of the Athabascan. We know this because we can trace their roots through linguistics and other historical records from neighboring tribes. The Athabascan people, or Athapascan, it's also pronounced, they originated in the North Athabascan region of Canada. And this lake here, this kind of sliver of a lake, is Lake Athabasca. Beginning in the 12 to 1500s, they began to migrate further south. Some of them actually ended up on the Pacific coast, forming other tribes, while the Apache and Navajo, the Navajo kind of settled a little bit further west, with the Apache a little bit further south, and then some of the Athabasca stayed in Canada. But again, the Apache ended up settling in the areas of New Mexico, Arizona, a little bit of Colorado, Texas, and Oklahoma. So this is the homeland of the Apache, or an area came to be known as Apacheria. So they've lived here for the last 800 years, primarily as hunters and gatherers. Over here in the west, Arizona, we've got the Western Apache tribes, which includes the White Mountain tribe, the San Carlos down in Tucson, and then the Tonto a little bit further north, sort of in the Tonto National Park area. And then over here in the north, you've got the Jicarilla, which translates to little basket. Over in the eastern areas like Texas and Oklahoma, you have the Kiowa Apaches and the Plains tribes. And then down in the south, you have the Lipan, the Mescalero, who take their name from the mescaline plant, and then the Chiricahua, which is the tribe that Geronimo came from. Let's take a closer look now and move on to Apache origin stories and their creation story. So, like many other religions, there's different interpretations or versions of the creation story. Same goes for the Apache. Some Apaches believe that they came from under the earth, emerged like from cave systems, and then others believe that they traveled through different worlds, and these worlds were black, white, blue, and yellow. At first it sounds, maybe a little bit funny, but I think that these different colors could actually indicate different phases of their migration path. So the black could represent they're traveling through the polar night, or the 30 days of night in the Arctic Circle, when there is no sun, And but the blue, I think it's possible that could represent just these massive blue glaciers, an area that they would have certainly had to pass through to get down to the United States. And then the yellow could be grasslands or rolling hills of the prairie. And then the white world could maybe be, snow-capped peaks of the Rocky Mountains. Not exactly sure, but I think that's kind of interesting. But another one of the more interesting pieces of their spiritual beliefs is the battle of the beasts and the birds, which Geronimo actually talked about as well in his autobiography. Basically, there was previous to humans on Earth, the world was black, again, the first world, but it was filled with different beasts. And the leader of the beasts was the dragon, and the leader of the birds was the eagle. And the birds all wanted to bring light into the world, into the universe, and the dragons and the beasts, they